Welcome to Pastor Andrew's Inspirations. If you enjoy these videos, please click on the red subscribe button below the video and the bell for more. Welcome to our online church, a congregation made up of many from around the world. No offering is necessary. Subscribing and watching videos will keep us alive under God's watchful eyes. Today, we will be learning part 4 of 8 in our series on biblical names, starting with E. Elijah is mentioned 4 more times in the New Testament. In Luke, Romans, Hebrews, and James. In Luke 4, Jesus uses Elijah as an example of rejected prophets. Jesus says no prophet is accepted in his own country, and then mentions Elijah, saying that there were many widows in Israel, but Elijah was sent to one in Phoenicia. In Romans chapter 11, Paul cites Elijah as an example of God's never forsaking his people, who are the Israelites. In Hebrews chapter 11, women receive their dead raised to life again. Refers to both Elijah raising the son of the widow of Zarephath and Elisha raising the son of the woman of Shunem, citing both Elijah and Elisha as Old Testament examples of faith. And in James chapter 5, James says, "The effectual fervent prayer of a righteous man availeth much," and then cites Elijah's prayers, which started and ended the famine in Israel, as examples. In Western Christianity, Elijah is commemorated as a saint with a feast day on the 20th of July by the Roman Catholic Church and the Lutheran Church Missouri Synod. The Missouri Synod Catholics believe that he was unmarried and celibate. In the Eastern Orthodox Church and those Eastern Catholic churches which follow the Byzantine Rite, he is commemorated on the same date in the 21st century. Julian calendar 20th of July corresponds to Gregorian calendar the 2nd of August. He is greatly revered among the Orthodox as a model of the contemplative life. He is also commemorated on the Orthodox liturgical calendar on the Sunday of the Holy Fathers, the Sunday before the Nativity of the Lord. Elijah has been venerated as the patron saint of Bosnia and Herzegovina since the 26th of August, 1752, replacing George of Lida at the request of Bishop Paveo Dragicevic. The reasons for the replacement are unclear. It is being suggested that Elijah was chosen because of his importance to all 3 main religious groups in Bosnia and Herzegovina. Elijah is revered as the spiritual father and traditional founder of the Catholic religious order of Carmelites. In addition to taking their name from Mount Carmel, where the first hermits of the order established themselves, the Calced Carmelite and Descalced Carmelite traditions pertaining to Elijah focus upon the prophet's withdrawal from public life. The medieval Carmelite book of the first monks offers some insight into the heart of the orders, contemplative vocation, and reverence for the prophet. In the 17th century, the Bollandish Society, whose declared aim was to search out and classify materials concerning the saints venerated by the Church, and to print that seemed to be the most reliable sources of information, entered into controversy with the Carmelites on this point. In writing of St. Albert, Patriarch of Jerusalem and author of the Carmelite rule, the Bollandist Daniel Pepperbroche stated that the attribution of Carmelite origin to Elijah was insufficiently grounded. The Carmelites reacted strongly. From 1681 to 1698, a series of letters, pamphlets, and other documents was issued by each side. The Carmelites were supported by a Spanish tribunal, while the Bollandists had the support of Jean de Lannoy and the Sorbonne. In November 1698, Pope Innocent ordered an end to the controversy. Since most Eastern churches either use Greek as their liturgical language or translated their liturgies from the Greek, Elias is the form of the prophet's name used among those members of the Eastern Orthodox Church and those Eastern Catholic churches which follow the Byzantine Rite. The full name of Saint Elias in Lebanon translates to Saint Elias the Living, because it is believed that he did not die, but rode his fiery chariot to heaven. The reference to the fiery chariot is likely why the Lebanese celebrate this holiday with fireworks. The Incarnate Angel, the cornerstone of the prophets, the second forerunner of the coming of Christ, the glorious Elias, who from above sent down to Elisha the grace to dispel sickness and cleanse lepers, abounds therefore in healing for those who honor him. O prophet and foreseer of the great works of God, O greatly renowned Elias, who by your word held back the clouds of rain, intercede for us to the only loving one. Elimelech. During the time of the judges, an Israelite family from Bethlehem, Elimelech, his wife Naomi, and their sons Mahlon and Chilion immigrated to the nearby country of Moab. Elimelech died, and the sons married two Moabite women. Mahlon married Ruth, and Chilion married Orpah. Elioenai is the name of several minor persons found in the Hebrew Bible, and Elioenai appears in 1 Chronicles chapter 3, the son of Neariah, the son of Shemaiah, the son of Shechaniah, a descendant of King Jeconiah, a clan leader in the tribe of Simeon, according to 1 Chronicles chapter 4. Elioenai, son of Becher, a descendant of the tribe of Benjamin, according to 1 Chronicles chapter 7. A descendant of Pashur, one of the priests listed as having married foreign women. A descendant of Zattu, also listed with those who had foreign wives. In Ezra chapter 10. A priest involved in the dedication of the wall of Jerusalem, according to Nehemiah chapter 12. Elioenai, son of Meshelemiah, son of Korah, in 1 Chronicles chapter 26. Eliphal, son of is listed as one of David's mighty warriors in 1 Chronicles chapter 11. In the corresponding place in Samuel's version of the list, in 2 Samuel chapter 23, he is called Alephalet, son of Ahasbai, the Mashathite. Eliphaz. Eliphaz means my Elohim is gold. He was the firstborn son of Esau and his wife Ada. He had 6 sons, of whom Omar was the firstborn, and the others were Teman, Zepho, Gatam, Kenaz, and Amalek, who was born to his concubine Timnah. The people of Amalek was the ancestral enemy of the Israelite people in Book of Exodus chapter 17 and Book of Deuteronomy chapter 25. The Midrash relates that when Jacob escaped from Esau and fled to his uncle Laban in Haran, Esau sent Eliphaz to pursue and kill Jacob, his uncle, who was his rabbi also. When they met, Jacob implored Eliphaz not to kill him, but Eliphaz challenged that he had his father's instructions to fulfill. Jacob gave everything he had with him to Eliphaz and said, "Take what I have, for a poor man is counted as dead." Eliphaz was satisfied and left his uncle and rabbi poor, but still alive. Rashi, the Book of Genesis, chapter 29. According to Louis Ginsburg's Legends of the Jews, Eliphaz was a prophet. Alephalet. Alephalet is a Hebrew name meaning God is a deliverance. It is the name of several figures in the Hebrew Bible and appears under several spellings. Alephalet is the name given to a son of David in 2 Samuel chapter 5 and 1 Chronicles chapters 3 and 14. Due to a textual error, Chronicles records Eliphalet twice, as if it were the name of 2 different sons of David. Eliphal, son of in 2 Samuel chapter 23, or Ahasbai in the 1 Chronicles chapter 11, is listed as one of David's mighty warriors. Eliphal, son of Eshek, appears in the genealogy of the tribe of Benjamin in 1 Chronicles chapter 8. And Eliphalet is named among the descendants of Adonikam, or Adonikam, one of the groups that returned with Ezra from the Babylonian captivity according to Ezra chapter 8. And Eliphalet, one of the descendants of Hashum, is listed as one of the men who married foreign women, according to Ezra chapter 10. Elizabeth. Elizabeth meaning my God has sworn. She was the mother of John the Baptist and the wife of Zacharia, according to the Gospel of Luke. She was past normal childbearing age when she conceived and gave birth to John. According to the Gospel of Luke, Elizabeth was of the daughters of Aaron. She and her husband Zacharia were righteous before God, walking in all the commandments and ordinances of the Lord, blameless, but childless, while he was in the temple of the Lord. Zacharias was visited by the angel Gabriel. But the angel said to him, "Do not be afraid, Zechariah. Your wife Elizabeth will bear you a son, and you are to call him John. He will be a joy and delight to you, and many will rejoice because of his birth, for he will be great in the sight of the Lord. He is never to take wine or other fermented drink, and he will be filled with the Holy Spirit, even before he is born." In Luke chapter 1, Zacharias doubted whereby he could know this, since both he and his wife were old. The angel identified himself as Gabriel and told Zacharias that he would be dumb and not able to speak until the words were fulfilled, because he did not believe. When the days of his ministry were complete, he returned to his house. After this, his wife Elizabeth became pregnant, and for 5 months remained in seclusion. "The Lord has done this for me," she said. "In these days he has shown his favor and taken away my disgrace among the people." According to the account, the angel Gabriel was then sent to Nazareth in Galilee to her relative Mary, a virgin, betrothed to a man called Joseph, and informed her that she would conceive by the Holy Spirit and bring forth a son to be called Jesus. She was also informed that her relative Elizabeth had begun her 6th month of pregnancy, and Mary traveled to a town in the hill country of Judah to visit Elizabeth. When Elizabeth heard Mary's greeting, the baby leaped in her womb, and Elizabeth was filled with the Holy Spirit. In a loud voice she exclaimed, "Blessed are you among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb. But why am I favored that the mother of my Lord should come to me? As soon as the sound of your greeting reached my ears, the baby in my womb leaped for joy. Blessed is she who has believed that the Lord would fulfill his promises to her." Mary stayed with Elizabeth for about 3 months and then returned home. When it was time for Elizabeth to have her baby, she gave birth to a son. Her neighbors and relatives heard that the Lord had shown her great mercy, and they shared her joy. On the 8th day they came to circumcise the child, and they were going to name him after his father, Zacharia. But his mother spoke up and said, "No, he is to be called John." They said to her, "There is no one among your relatives who has that name." Then they made signs to his father to find out what he would like to name the child. He asked for a writing tablet, and to everyone's astonishment, he wrote, "His name is John." Immediately his mouth was opened, and his tongue set free, and he began to speak, praising God. Elisha. Elisha meaning "my God is salvation." He is, according to the Hebrew Bible, a prophet and a wonder worker, also mentioned in the New Testament and the Quran. Elisha is venerated as a prophet in Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, and writings of the Baha'i faith refer to him by name. In the biblical narrative, he is a disciple and protege of Elijah, and after Elijah was taken up in a chariot of fire, he gave Elisha a double portion of his power, and he was accepted as the leader of the sons of the prophets. Elisha then went on to perform twice as many miracles as Elijah before he settled in Samaria. Elisha passed some time on Mount Carmel. He became noted in Israel, and for 6 decades held the office of prophet in Jerusalem, or prophet in Israel, as it is. He is called a patriot because of his people to soldiers and king. Elisha's story is related in the books of Kings, 2nd scroll, chapter 2 to 14 in the Hebrew Bible. Elisha was the son of Shaphat, a wealthy landowner of Abel Maholah. He became the attendant and disciple of Elijah. His name first occurs in chapter 19 of the book of Kings, in the command given to Elijah to anoint him as his successor. After learning in the cave of Mount Horeb that Elisha, the son of Shaphat, had been selected by Yahweh as his successor in the prophetic office, Elijah set out to find him. On his way from Mount Horeb to Damascus, Elijah found Elisha, one of them that was plowing with 12 yokes of oxen. Elijah went over to him, threw his mantle over Elisha's shoulders, investing him with the prophetic office. Elisha delayed only long enough to kill the yoke of oxen, whose flesh he boiled with the wood of his plow. After he had shared this farewell repast with his father, mother, and friends, the newly chosen prophet went after Elijah and ministered unto him. Elisha became Elijah's close attendant until Elijah was taken up into heaven. During all these years, we hear nothing of Elisha, except in connection with the closing scenes of Elijah's life. Elisha accompanied Elijah to Jericho, where, according to 2 Kings chapter 2, the sons of the prophets tell Elisha that the Lord would take away thy master from thy head today. Elijah and Elisha went to the Jordan River. Elijah rolls up his mantle and strikes the water, the waters of which divide so as to permit both to pass over on dry ground. Elisha asked to inherit a double portion of Elijah's spirit. Suddenly a chariot of fire and horses of fire appear, and Elijah is lifted up in a whirlwind. As Elijah is lifted up, his mantle falls to the ground, and Elisha picks it up. In this interpretation, Elisha is asking that he may be seen as the rightful heir and successor to Elijah. Elisha was already appointed as Elijah's successor early in the narrative, and that Elisha is described as performing twice as many miracles as Elijah. In this interpretation, the double portion is not merely an allusion to primacy in succession, but is instead a request for a greater prophetic power even than Elijah. By means of the mantle let fall from Elijah, Elisha miraculously recrossed the Jordan, and Elisha returned to Jericho, where he won the gratitude of the people by purifying the wholesome waters of their spring and making them drinkable. When the armies of Judah, Israel, and Edom then allied against Mesha, the Moabite king, were being tortured by drought in the Idumean desert, Elisha consented to intervene. His double prediction regarding relief from drought and victory over the Moabites was fulfilled on the following morning, when a group of boys from Bethel taunted the prophet for his baldness. Elisha cursed them in the name of Yahweh, and 2 female bears came out of the forest and tore 42 of the boys. To relieve a prophet's widow, importuned by a harsh creditor, Elisha so multiplied a little oil as to enable her not only to pay her debt, but to provide for her family needs. There is a Jewish tradition or legend that the woman's husband was Obadiah, the servant of King Ahab, who hid 100 prophets in 2 caves. To reward the rich lady of Shunem for her hospitality, he obtained for her from Yahweh at first the birth of a son, and subsequently the resurrection of her child who had died, to nourish the sons of the prophets pressed by famine. Elisha changed the pottage made from poisonous gourds into wholesome food. He fed 100 men with 20 loaves of new barley, leaving some left over, in a story which is comparable with the miracles of Jesus in the New Testament. Elisha cured the Syrian military commander Naaman of leprosy, but punished his own servant Gehazi, who took money from Naaman. Naaman, at first reluctant, obeyed Elisha and washed 7 times in River Jordan, finding his flesh restored like the flesh of a little child. The general was so impressed by this evidence of God's power and by the disinterestedness of his prophet as to express his deep conviction that there is no other God in all earth but only in Israel. Elisha allowed Naaman to continue in the service of the Syrian king, and therefore be present in the worship of Rimmon in the Syrian temple. According to Luke's Gospel, Jesus referred to Naaman's healing when he said, "And there were many lepers in Israel in the time of Elisha the prophet, and none of them was cleansed but Naaman the Syrian." Elisha's actions included repeatedly saving King Jehoram of Israel from the ambushes planned by Ben-Hadad, ordering the elders to shut the door against the messenger of Israel's ungrateful king, bewildering with a strange blindness the soldiers of the Syrian king, making iron float to relieve from embarrassment a son of a prophet, and confidently predicting the sudden flight of the enemy at the siege of Samaria, and the consequent cessation of the famine in the city. Elisha then journeyed to Damascus and prophesied that Hazael would be king over Syria, while weeping because of the evil he would do. Elisha directs one of the sons of the prophets to anoint Jehu, the son of Jehoshaphat, as king of Israel, and commissions him to cut off the house of Ahab. The death of Jehoram, pierced by an arrow from Jehu's bow, the end of Jezebel, and the slaughter of Ahab's 70 sons, proved how he executed that demand. While Elisha lay on his deathbed in his own house, Jehoash of Israel, the grandson of Jehu, came to mourn over his approaching departure, and uttered the same words as those of Elisha when Elijah was taken away, indicating his value to him. my father, the chariot of Israel, and the horsemen thereof." Jehoash assists Elisha to fire an arrow eastwards from the window of his room, predicting as it lands the arrow of the Lord's deliverance and the arrow of deliverance from Syria. For you must strike the Syrians at Aphek till you have destroyed them. Elisha predicts 3 successful battles over the Arameans, but no absolute victory. In 2 Kings chapter 13 records 3 victories of Joash, whereby cities lost to the Arameans, probably on the west bank of the Jordan, were regained. According to the books of Kings, the year after Elisha's death and burial, a body was placed in his grave. As soon as the body touched Elisha's remains, the man revived and stood up on his feet. This is part 4 of the biblical names starting with E. Please stay with us for part 5. If you enjoy these videos, please click on the red subscribe button below and the bell for more. Adonai Nisi, the Lord is our banner. God's blessings be upon us all.